the Waiheke Inter-dominion that just
Yeah,
finished.
yeah,
It's the first major event that I've organised in New Zealand or anywhere in the windsurfing event that I've organised anywhere. I've organised and run smaller events, but nothing like this.
yeah,
And what really hit home to me is that the people that were at the event, and it's also probably because the event was small,
mm,
are all super helpful
mm,
and all super nice. Um, when anything had to be done, there was always a whole lot of people ready there to help and just keep on rolling so that we could all pack up and get to the bar or get to the restaurant or
yeah,
go sailing or whatever it was. And everybody just worked together, and the
yeah,
humor was fantastic on and
yeah,
off the water.
yeah,
It was great. And I think everybody's recognized we're not going to go to the Olympic Games,
mm,
and there's always going to be people better and worse than you. And it's actually about the shared experience and trying to
yeah.
manage your own ego.
Yeah, well, I think that's, when I first started sailing the LT, I hadn't sailed for 30 odd years and, I was really struggling and, I came in feeling a bit ashamed of myself and thinking nobody would want to speak to me because I was such a loser. But it was actually quite the opposite. And, I think after the race, there might be a little bit of discussion about where you actually came, but, really, nobody really cares. It's
Yeah.
just the fun of being together. It's the important thing.
I mean, it was a classic at the prize giving we had for the Waiheke Inter-dominion. I organised a team sailing event, and the format is three against three,
Mm.
enter the course from opposite sides, very
Yeah,
short-winded low into the gate, and last through the finish line makes that team lose.
yeah,
So it's super simple. There's no calculation,
yeah,
and the key to the whole thing is having a really good umpire boat and with lots of knowledge on the boat, and that the calls are made very quickly and accurately, and everybody knows what's going on. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out like that.
mm.
The umpire boats were struggling a little bit with keeping up with what was going on in the water, and so the first race that we did ended up being a little bit of a shambles, and so the whole event was a little bit loose for the team sailing event. And at the end of it, I don't think everybody was really 100% sure what had just happened. So at the prize giving, the teams were called out by color because it was all done by color, and
Mm.
nobody could remember which team they were in, and nobody particularly cared, and it was fantastic, and so that for me really summarized
Yeah,
everybody's attitude to the event was,
yeah,
hey, look, the result doesn't matter.
mm.
We're having a great time and good food and
Yeah,
good company
yeah,
and a few drinks and a bit of exercise and playing around in the water with this gear
yeah,
and that was what it was about. It was
yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
So that inter Dominion event there, Bruce, is that something you're going to be scheduling on an annual basis, or have you got some other
Look,
plans up your
yes, it
sleeve?
was the part of the reason I created that event was to start up windsurfing in New Zealand, and I knew that
Right.
it was going to be really tough to get New Zealand windsurfers onto it. So I had
Yeah,
to create an event that the Australians and their wives would
yeah,
want to come, and I had to think of a venue where it was going to be super easy to get to. And there was always going to be something to do for the sailors and their wives, and it was going to be nice, and everybody would be able to just walk to the venue. I like venues where it's a close
yeah,
community.
yeah,
And so I chose Onirawa on Waiheke because it was going to be easy to get to from the airport, um, or whatever. It's going to be easy for people to get to the city if they wanted to go shopping or whatever. And there's lots of wineries and it's just a beautiful place. And it worked out just like that. And so very quickly, and with the entries, I only in the beginning I allocated 10 charter boards.
right.
And they got snapped up by Australians and one American and a Japanese person.
Yeah.
Um, and I had no New Zealand entries.
Ah,
And so I kept on getting inquiries from the Australians. So I bumped that from 10 to 15 charter boards.
yeah.
And um, I only got eight Kiwis.
Right.
and all the rest were Australians. And so the only reason I was able to get the Kiwis is because Alan McIntosh, who uh, owns and runs the oldest windsurfing school in New Zealand, which is based in Auckland on Lake Pupuki, he got it straight away. He understood the whole windsurfer concept, the colourful sails, the light sails, and he got all his young instructors into it. So we had a few
Mm.
events, and these kids are really good wing foilers and
Yeah.
kite foilers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're surfers, and they hopped on this windsurfer, and they went, "Hang on, this isn't so bad."
Yeah.
And then they got beaten by me in a race, and they went, "Hang on," and it's got them.
Yeah.
And so they all showed up, and plus a few other Kiwis. Um, and so the New Zealand contingent was quite small, but it's always been my intention to do this again. It has been quite difficult to
Yeah.
really get it going. I think a lot of the people that raced in the 80s still have this vision of the intensity from racing and how competitive it was, and um, I think they've been turned off by it,
Mm.
and now they just want to freestyle,
Mm.
and they don't realize what the new windsurfer class is like to be in, and that we've all accepted that we may or may not win, and it's not about winning; it's about just sailing around and doing your best. The style that I use when I'm racing now is I do everything I can to avoid tacking on top of somebody.
Mm.
For me, it's a race. I like to line up with them. I don't like to tack on them,
Yeah.
which is really different to a normal sailing class. Um, of course, you have to tack on somebody when you're on the ley line to the top mark, but I usually leave that to the last moment. I like the idea of racing people,
Yeah.
and so that's pretty much how everybody sails, and it's very nice.